Yo, what's going on, guys? Booma here, and welcome back to the Boombots channel. Today's video is going to be a little bit of a shorter one. It's not super in depth, but we're going to be talking about how to break down an opposing team's defense in a Rocket League 3v3 game. It's going to be part 2 to expanding your Rocket League game sense. Now, today's examples I've taken were from Grand Champ ranks or higher, so we're going to be talking about breaking down the defense at a high level. Now don't worry, these concepts can still be applied to lower rank gameplay as well. I just felt that the way the meta is nowadays and how mechanical everyone's getting at the game, that these steps are the most vital to capitalize on a goal scoring opportunity. So yeah, hope you guys are having a wonderful day. Let's get into this shit. Alrighty guys, so we're gonna get to the 4 steps that I've put together that I think are the most simple but most effective ways to break down a high-level 3v3 defense. So number 1, dragging your opponents out of position to open up space for a pass or a goal. Number 2, utilizing controlled 50s and boost advantages to starve and suffocate your opponents in their half until they crack under the pressure. Number 3, keeping that pressure as well as making sure your possession is not wasted. And lastly, number 4, working together as a team to maximize your goal scoring opportunities. Anyway, I've grabbed some decent examples of what I think this looks like, so let's dive right in. We're going to break down some of these plays and see what led up to the goal. Alrighty guys, so first example I pulled from a 3v3 game was when me and my buddy Floater are duo queued, and our solo queue teammate ends up being J Pow. And for those of you that don't know J Pow, he's a professional player for Xset, I believe. So yeah, let's get into this. Starts with me on the backboard here. This Matt guy is not really getting a dangerous touch, and I can't really get a good touch on the ball here, so I end up just getting a light touch. And I know that Brian's touch here is probably not going to be dangerous if a teammate is behind me. He ends up hitting it off the sidewall, and I check first to see if either of my teammates have jumped for this, or if anyone on the opposing team has jumped. And J-Pow is up early. So I let J-Pow go. He gets a very hard bang, which is something that is extremely underrated in a 3v3 game still, is just hitting the ball extremely hard. And I'm Reekers feels like he has to jump for this, even though it's not on target. So he ends up clearing it off of his own backboard, and this is where the maintaining possession and, keeping the possession in your opponent's half, trying to suffocate them, comes into play. So I feel like Floater has noticed that Matt is in a pretty bad spot here. And so Floater realizes that he can probably get a touch on this ball that either me or J-Pow can follow up. And he wants to get a touch that makes Matt awkward, as I'm Reekers is already falling and has to worry about recovering, so he's essentially out of the play at the moment. And their third man, who is far off on the blind side, right side of our screen, is not close enough to be relevant in this play. So Floater tries to get a touch middle here. Now why this is so good is because I don't think Matt had the awareness of where J-Pow was on the field. So he's just ball watching at this point. You can see he has not taken off his ball cam. He's completely just looking at the ball this entire time. He's focused on the ball. And he sees that I am too far as third man, meaning he feels like he has beaten me from this ball. The thing he did not account for is he did not keep tabs on where J-Pow was. And J-Pow realizes that this is where it is important to keep the possession. So instead of giving them a free clear, J-Pow comes from the blind spot and ends up getting this 50. Now normally this is the type of 50 that would get you scored on in a lower ranked 3v3 game. But I had realized that I am potentially beat, so I turn away from the play just to be safe. That's my job as the third man. I'm trying to be in a secure spot to where I can follow up any outcome that happens here. And so this 50 goes off the sidewall pretty damn quick, and it's up in the air. And so now I get 2 players up. So this is what I realize. If I do not jump here, Matt's most likely going to demo me, which would be very bad because both of my teammates aren't recovered. So I have one of 2 things I could try to do here. I could try to beat either of these players jumping for this ball, or I could try to buy time. Fortunately, I can tell that Brian is probably not going to get up fast enough just because he jumped from straight underneath the ball. and it's a lot easier to come from, you know, a farther angle away. So I end up dusting both of these guys, touch the sidewall, and now Matt, because he is pushed up too far to try to demo me, cannot get back in time. So he's not even in a cutoff lane. He tries to jump for something that he's completely beat to and is very awkward to jump for. And Floater understands that, so all he has to do is put it in the net. It's a perfect example. Alrighty guys, second example is going to be from the same game. You have J-Pow here absolutely do this guy like so dirty. And I tried to compliment the flair that J-Pow brought to the game, and I tried to do like a little like backflip fake as well. I completely make a fool out of myself, and this 50 goes absolutely nowhere. So Rikus turns and he pinches the ball against the sidewall. Now this is them making a touch that neither him or his teammates can follow up. So he's essentially just giving us the possession. He's giving us the ball for free. I feel like Floater knew this pretty early, so he goes to get a light controlled touch to himself, which unfortunately gets him dunked. But we get 2 players to commit from the blue team. So they've double committed, which is huge for us. Now, again, from my POV, I have every single player on my screen. I can get my information, and getting the information allows me to make a good decision. So now that I know we have 2 players out, my objective is to get a touch that I can follow, knowing neither of these blue players are going to be able to challenge me. And I have to worry about doing something that will present Matt with a problem. Luckily, he buys into this touch, thinking I'm going to dodge into it, which I don't. And he drives. Look how far up he is. He is pretty far up as the 3rd man. There is absolutely no security here, as their entire team is on this side of the field. So instead of dodging into this, I pop it up to myself, and I should be checking first. You know, now that I look back at it, I should be checking if one of my teammates is middle, but I had a feeling because Floater is a consistent high elo player, and obviously J-Pow is a professional player, that one of them would be middle. So I had a nice, decent weighted pass middle, and we ended up getting a goal because of it. I'm kind of curious why Matt pushed up as far as he did. I don't feel like there was a reason why he should be this far up the field. I mean, he can see clearly that neither of his teammates had good recoveries. So there is no reason for him to be going for this ball at all, and by the time he's realized that I'm passing this, it's already too late. Alrighty, example number 3 is from another 3v3 game with me and Floater duo queued. We end up queuing into Rizzo. This is a pretty high elo lobby, I believe. I'm not sure what the elo was at the time. It was probably like Grand Champ 3. So already we have a touch that no one can follow up. Now, I don't want to bang this away, as neither of my teammates could follow it up. So I tried to hit something that I can follow myself. I hit a nice light touch. I hit it with my wheels so that I can at least try to get a 50. I end up beating MVVT. Sorry, I didn't read his name. Sounder immediately is pre-jumping this to not allow Rizzo to clear it off of his own backboard. He ends up getting a really nice touch. Floater is immediately up again to not allow them to get a good clear. So Rizzo ends up having to block Floater's attempted shot. And now I have a decision to make, and I do not want to just try to shoot this. First of all, because both of my teammates are falling on the opponent's side, I'm the 3rd man again, so I want to try to either get a buy time touch or at least keep the pressure as best as I possibly can. So I could hit it to the sidewall, I could try to take possession to the corner, whatever, but I prefer to just try to hit a high backboard touch. Unfortunately, I get like the worst touch on it, and it ends up actually almost going in off of the crossbar, but whatever, that's completely lucky. It was not intentional. And again, Floater realizes the importance of keeping the pressure here. So he still realizes that he has boost to be relevant in the play, so there's no point of him flipping out of this play. I feel like a lot of people in lower ranks and like low GC make that mistake of leaving the play too early rather than waiting to see, you know, what happens with the play. And so Floater stays pretty close, grabs 1 penny, and he's here to keep this pressure. Now, they both missed the ball, but look how awkward this is for the blue team. They were pretty much in shambles, and I feel like Zeke felt like one of them was going to hit that ball, So he even jumps for the first touch that I did, and he jumps again for floater's touch. So now he jumps again for like the third time. So he's completely like just confused on what he should be jumping for here. Which I feel like I took advantage of him potentially having this awkward camera angle. I feel like this is something that happens as you play the game more and more. You kind of realize when people are awkward by reading their car's body language. And so I completely ego chow this, which is like ridiculous, but it is also good because it allowed our teammate to go all the way back and reset. Like all this that me and Floater are doing not only keeps the pressure and suffocates the blue team on their own half. I mean, what is this, like 20 seconds into this game? And we've already had 2 shots on target, I believe. And so we decided to keep this pressure going because why not? If you can get an early goal in a game, then that's fantastic. And so it even ends up allowing our teammate to get behind us into the 3rd man position. He gets a full tank of boost. So, and luckily we end up getting a goal off of it, so. Okay guys, this is one example I just found while going through replays, and this is a very rare situation and opportunity that you can get where you as an individual player can do something very important for your team. And that's like just making sure that you're not hitting the ball away when you have opportunities like this. So this play leading up to this, I actually had a very poor recovery. I end up clipping the lip of the goal on my way in when I'm rotating back post. Normal times gets a pretty nice touch that one of us can follow, which is another thing I wish people would do more, is pass out of defense. Now, obviously this is not a direct pass to anybody, but it is definitely an intentional touch by normal times to make sure one of us can get to this ball. Honestly, I don't know why Jolly Jirachi is just flying in from the back where he doesn't need to be doing this. I think he's a little threatened by Yato's attempt at a shot here, even though I'm in the net, and I could probably have this angle covered. But they end up 50ing each other, and now is a situation where I feel like somebody in a lower rank Grand Champ lobby would just try to bang this or hit it away. But these are the perfect opportunities to take control of the possession and make sure you don't waste it. And here I can clearly see that Besner is like full sending for this ball. And so I try to get a touch that I myself, or hopefully if normal times were to recover, we could have a potential 2v2 opportunity here. So I just pop. He ends up going right underneath the ball, which is a really good control touch by me. Now, I don't have a lot of boost, and another important thing in like 3v3, which I would like to make its own separate video eventually for Rocket League Game Sense Part 3, would be having awareness of where every player is on the field. This way you can recognize the situation that you have in front of you, meaning if their first man completely overcommits and throws himself out of the play, then you have to think to yourself that you potentially have a 3v2 opportunity. So you want to be able to capitalize on those opportunities, and what I mean by that is also being aware of when those opportunities come early. So I feel like a lot of times people don't realize that they're in a 2v1 or a 3v1, whatever, and they tend to rush their play, and there's not really a point to doing that. So in this situation specifically, this example specifically, I end up getting a 1v2 opportunity, and I turn it to a 1v1, and I'm able to isolate the 1v1 scenario. Which, again, I don't really have boost here, so I end up wasting the 7 boost that I have to try to keep myself supersonic. I do a little fake jump, and I use my second jump to come back down to the ground, and I just jump up and bump this guy. So that's like a really rare opportunity where you can get... I mean, clearly there were probably things in this play that led up to the other team overcommitting. Like, this touch from Gam, first of all, is not really useful for them, just because he's trying to get like some crazy redirect, and he ends up just popping the ball up to us. See, so now none of his teammates can follow this up. I mean, they're way too far, and I don't know what he was expecting from this touch, or if he was trying to pop it for Yato here. And I feel like Yato kind of thought we were down bad for some strange reason, because at normal times this touch. And so he goes to ego chow this, and is not paying attention that there's two of us covering the net. And he just ends up taking a 50 that doesn't favor his team at all. Because Besner has gone all the way back for boost and he's too far to go for this. And I mean, he still ends up going even though he's beat by a mile. He tried to keep the possession and tried to keep the pressure on us. And doing that too much and not making the smart decision can sometimes be a detriment to your team. That's also something I'd like to speak to in this video. But yeah, we're going to move on to completely different examples. So. Alrighty guys, on to the next example. As you can see, we are down a goal here. And it's right off the kickoff. So we're going to go over to GG's perspective. By the way, Spanker is GG. This is his ult. So we are playing with GG and Floater in this game. They're both capable of high elo. And here we go. So GG is in a scare app, first of all. Can we just appreciate this? So what this touch does is, obviously GG has hit something that is too far for him to follow. But he's still threatening that he has some sort of play here. And he actually gets the Fennec to jump. Now, this is a little bit dangerous just because their rotation is a bit weird here. So him jumping for this from the side instead of challenging it from his net or the backboard makes it a lot more awkward for these two players. Because now Snoop feels like this is what he should be doing. Even though now, because his teammate has jumped, he is the only third man covering the net. And actually, Whirly over here ends up going up the backboard. So this is like another thing that can be scored on if there's like this miscommunication of you not watching where your teammates are. I'm sure both of them are just looking at the ball here. Yeah, neither of them can really see where each other are at. They're both just kind of trying to get this touch right here. And so GG ends up, even though he didn't pull off a mechanical play or whatever, he ends up even getting the Fennec to throw himself out of the play and waste a lot of boost. Like, this is literally a almost a full tank of boost this guy is wasting. Trying to jump from an angle where he's beat, he's jumping from across the field, and he's jumping from underneath the ball. Those are like 3 red flags for me. So he's essentially like throwing himself out of this play. And so now, Snoop and Whirly, due to the miscommunication, are not allowed or are not capable of getting a good clear. So now Floater recognizes this. He's been watching this the entire time since GG has gone up. And the most important thing to do here is to keep the possession. Make sure your possession is not wasted. And so he capitalizes on GG's, effort, and he knows that these guys are down bad. So he tries to keep the possession. Now, obviously, this touch could be like way better, whatever. You guys might be thinking this touch does nothing. But they're all extremely awkward in their positioning, and there's only one player that has boost, and he still has not rotated. Whirly has been on this wall for how long? He's been here since GG's mechanical, and he's just reversing on the wall. He's just like, the normal thing to do would be get off the wall and go back post, like become the third man. But instead, they're all just in this awkward position. The Fennec with 0 boost ends up coming back onto the backboard for some strange reason, and he ends up just throwing the ball away. Now, I've been watching this the entire time, and I've been literally hanging on to my tank of boost off the kickoff this entire time. And so I get a touch here that I can follow. And again, when people see this, they think he's going for something mechanical. So the single player with boost here, this guy has finally gotten some pennies. Goes up the backboard thinking I'm going to like air dribble or try to double tap. So he's up there trying to defend my mechanical play. When all my objective was in my head was to get this ball middle. And GG knows that. Which he ends up hitting a perfect shot. So this entire, I want to say 30 seconds of this play was just us making them, waste boost. We were providing them with problems that weren't that threatening. But because of their decision making and because they jumped for things that weren't threatening, it actually ended up working for us in that we suffocated them in their own half and we ended up getting a goal out of it. Okay, on to the next example. I pulled a kickoff example from this game. Now, obviously, everyone has been a part of some sort of set piece kickoff where, you force the kickoff one way, and then you can either, that player who receives the ball can usually, majority of the time now in this meta, they go for a solo play, but there's always a better option than that. And so we end up saying back left, we force the kickoff back left to Floater. Now, the guy on the kickoff obviously doesn't get boost. Now this is what's interesting because the cheater on their team, for some strange reason, believes that he can close this space between him and floater quick enough, even though he doesn't have boost, and he ends up like full boosting towards floater and then turning away. So like we already have 2 players out of the play, and because floater has hit this pass like so perfectly, obviously GG could shoot it or go for a solo play. But why would we do that knowing the third man probably has a full tank of boost? And instead, because we know we have 2 players out, including Snoop, and they don't have boost, GG decides to just hit a nice weighted pass back to floater. And it's right. The great thing about this pass is if you look at it from like a top-down view, it's a perfect weighted pass because no one can touch it. So first of all, they have no one in their cutoff lane, meaning nobody like turned infield to try to cut this pass off. Like if Snoop had a little more awareness, he probably could have turned in. Let's see what his let's see from his view. So after the play, he completely turns away, doesn't even get the boost, and he's just turned his ball cam off. He's looking for this boost that his teammate just grabbed, and he's not paying attention. And by the time he's realized that this was a pass back, it's too late. I mean, the goalkeeper couldn't. I feel like the goalkeeper couldn't have went this entire time either. The goalkeeper's kind of confused now. All of a sudden, he's in a 2v1 scenario. He realizes this is not a shot, and by the time he's turned back around, it's already net. So that's like another thing you can capitalize on breaking down on defense. If you can pick up on those cues earlier, and I'm pretty sure we all saw the guy commit off the kickoff. It's the cheater's fault here. But yeah, on to the next one. Alrighty guys, so final example, as you can see, is another game of me, GG, and Floater playing. It is 14 seconds left on the clock, and it is a tied game at 1-1. So let's, I do like the lead up to this play, but we're going to see what happens here. So Gambit ends up trying to air dribble a ball down to his teammate. Me and Floater actually end up double committing off of our backboard. Now this is something that I do a lot in a 3v3 game. And it's almost like I'm baiting a player in by making him think I've hit something too far to where I can follow it. But this is a completely intentional touch towards the ground so that I can get in front of the block. And I got lucky because if he had hit it to the sidewall, I would have been, you know, my play would have been irrelevant. But he luckily ends up hitting it up into me. So you can see from his POV, it looks like I don't have the skin. But my entire intention is to get in front of the block, which is precisely what I do. So now, this is the view of the field that I have. So my intention is I know for a fact that I can probably not shoot this. And Gambit has come onto a ball side rotate, so he's essentially in a cutoff lane here. So my biggest objective right now is to try to get a pass as quick as possible. And I know that this Ebo Kaibibo, I don't know if I'm saying that right, the guy in front of Floater right now, I know he's most likely going to just be trying to get back as quick as possible. So my plan is to just try to beat Gambit. So I end up using a speed flip, and I get this like nice little pre-flip pass off. And I feel like because it was a pre-flip, Floater couldn't react to it in time. It's a little bit harder to react to because he feels like this pass is going to come through, and he kept driving a little bit. So instead, again, of trying to shoot this or trying to pop it, he notices that he can use GG. This is what I was talking about by using your teammates. So he ends up literally just leaving this for GG. And this is such an underrated touch. Like, how many of your teammates actually do this in a game? Like, he even checks. Like, he even looks. He even uses his ball cam to check where GG's at. Boop. There you go. And now here's the best part of the play. Okay. GG, being the very smart player that he is, instead of shooting this, knowing that we've had this much pressure on this counterattack, why would he rush the shot when we could just guarantee the goal? So instead of rushing the shot, this is the view that GG has. So after my pre-flip, landed in the net, and I'm bumping the goalkeeper. So GG's main priority is to either shoot it far side on the right side to make sure that the guy in the backboard can't get it. But like I said, Instead of taking that 50-50 chance of if he's going to score or not, we take the guaranteed chance, and instead of playing it towards the net where the guy on the backboard is prepared for a shot, we end up faking the shot and just hitting it a light pass back. That's all it is. And we end up getting the goal. So from let's watch it from the auto cam view. So we get the block, pass comes through, light touch, goal. So the reason this is so effective on this counterattack is because every single one of the opposing players is low boost. Every single one of them. Okay, maybe besides this Gambit 22 guy. But by the time, you know, the real danger happens, they're just like, they're in shambles. I don't even know where looking for a third teammate ends up. I don't know why he's still... I mean, he had no sense of urgency to get back and help his team, but this is a very beautiful example of... and this guy in net literally couldn't do anything, so... Sheesh. Anyway, guys, that's going to do it for today's video. Obviously, my examples were not the best, and to be honest, I was rushing to get this video out before I started stream, so I deeply apologize, but I'm going to do a part 2 of this video of breaking down defenses next time, and I'm going to get way better examples of 3v3 being a game of attrition and longer periods of some games where those 4 steps all come into play. Thank you guys so much, as always, for taking the time to watch this. If you have any recommendations or videos that you guys would want me to make, please sure to let me know down in the comments below. As always, a sub, like, or share is greatly appreciated. Make sure you guys hit that noti bell to stay up to date when I post, and I'll see you guys in the next one or on stream. Peace!